here with Adventures in Wrenching. In today's, and I say today, but it's probably going to be a adventure that spans a couple of evenings, because I'm busy trying to do other things to make a little money, put a little food on the table. Anyway, we are going to do a bit of an update on Project 944, the Porsche that's been sitting way too long. We are down to pretty much this. My diagrams for all of my spaghetti of hoses. I have definitely made some progress, but I have not been documenting it for a variety of reasons. I've been dealing with a torn rotator cuff, having to do a little work for a living. Now we've got the global pandemic, and just to be honest, a little overall laziness. Well, we're gonna get past that, because if I want to make the channel grow, want to give you guys some entertainment, etc., etc., then I got to really get on it. So anyway, as you can see, I got brand new injectors in it. The injector rail is all down. Tire cover is all on. Intake is all in. I've checked this a couple of times, so balance shaft belt, regular belt are in and up and on. So those are all good. Got the new spark plugs in it. Got mostly new hoses on it where I needed new hoses. Now I'm probably still going to need some more as I finish this up. But it is going to be time to lay out everything and see what I've got to put together and get this done. Cross my fingers and toes. Hope when I turn the key that it actually fires and runs right, and then I can make a decision. Like I said, this was one of my favorite cars. When I was living in Germany, actually stationed in Germany with the military, this car came out while I was over there, and I fell in love with it, but it was way out of my price range. And finally, like 40 years later, was able to actually get it. So I have it. I may sell it. I may keep it, but I do want to drive it around for a little while longer, because it is a ball to drive. Anyway, whoops, as my stuff flies away here. Anyway, well, let's get going. Okay, so it's been 2 years. Actually, it's been more than 2 years while I've been having this sit around. And now that I'm actually starting to get... Oh, sorry about that. It looked like I could see a stain on my lens there. Hold on. Anyway, yeah, it's been 2 years, more than 2 years. Way too long. Things that now that I can see that I'm going to have to get or do or whatever before I can finish this up is I do not have... There's a set bolt that goes in here, and I'm going to go ahead and get a new rotor on the way, because this one I can clean up, but you know, I would say they're not too expensive, but this is a Porsche, so it probably is more expensive than I want to. But I need to file this down a little bit or emery it, and then this slides over it, but there's a set screw that goes in there, and I do not have that set screw that holds that in place. So I'm going to have to size that up and figure that one out. Now the other parts of my goodies that I have, I do have a new heat switch. It is a vacuum switch, a ported vacuum switch with two, and it's specific to this car. So I do have Now that I'm regretting the decision that I made earlier, the 2-port switch down here, I didn't put it in until just now because it's almost impossible to get to right now. But the only reason I did it is because I didn't want those little nipples broke off, because that happened on the last time when I dropped the manifold on top of it and had to get a new one. So I'm going to get a wrench in here and get this tight, but this was not fun or easy. Well, we're going to have to get a little creative, because in dealing with rubber that's 36 years old, it's just crumbling everywhere. This part broke, this part broke. I've already had to replace one section up there. So these need to tie in together and then come around to this T right here. So let's see what I can come up with. I would like a black T fitting, but most of the aftermarket ones are white. That'll stick out like a sore thumb. Okay, well, I think I have most of the vacuum done. Let's go ahead and check it out. Now, there is an actual guide right here on the fender, but you all mechanics know that these are vague at best. So I like this one that I got right here that I was able to print off, flip it around to where it's oriented to the motor, and let's kind of hold on. Got some wind here, so we're gonna put a wrench on this thing. Okay, so you got this right here, which is this, and this circuit goes all the way up into the air conditioning. That happens to go into actually no, this one goes to that 2-position valve on the back side. So I got that one, that goes right there. Then this one, not this one, this one goes across and down to a 3-way, which I got right there. One side goes to the throttle body, which is right there, and the other one goes to the splitter, which goes to your fuel rails. I might need a different elbow for that. That, if it all works, I'll paint that black and nobody will know the difference. Okay. This one goes back to the other side of the 2-position. Already got the 2 fuel rails. Done and done. There is no extra small vacuum. Okay, well, the sun's starting to go down. Thanks for coming along for this short little update video. When we next meet, which will hopefully be tomorrow, since tomorrow's starting a weekend, I'm going to tackle putting the air box back on, get all the bigger hoses in, and maybe sometime this weekend I might actually be able to try and fire this puppy up and see if I can blow it apart. I hope not. Not after everything and as much money as this has cost to put into it, but you know, you never know. That's the thing about working on cars, is sometimes even when you think you know what you're doing, things still go wrong. So, again, thanks for coming along. Please like, subscribe, follow me here and on Facebook, and I will see you in the next adventure. Bye now. Okay, so I actually think that we have gotten most of the vacuum in. Now, this vehicle does have a chart right here on the fender. Part of it's missing, of course. And for those of you that are mechanically inclined and have been working on these, you know that these are vague at best. So my paper copy is probably better. Now, this switch, which is that one right there, goes down to a 3-way port, which goes to here, which goes to the splitter, which goes to the fuel rail. And those are those right there. That goes there, that goes there, that goes there. So that's set. This one goes across and down to one side of that 2-position port, which is down, that tough one that's up underneath the intake manifold. The other side of that port goes to throttle body vacuum right here. So we're good there. Well, everybody, I think I've got all the small vacuum put together. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day since the sun's getting ready to go down. Thanks for coming along for the ride. This is only one step in the journey. Hopefully tomorrow I'm going to be back out here, since it is a weekend, and tackle some of the bigger hoses and put the air box back on. I won't be able to start it yet because I'm waiting for the ignition rotor that comes with the set screws to hold it all in place, and then I can put the timing covers back on. So what I got left, obviously I got my air box, I got a couple of larger hoses, I got my coolant hoses that I still have to put on, got my timing covers, one of which is pretty trashed like I showed earlier in the video. We'll see whether I want to pony up the bucks to get a replacement, or if I want to go ahead and epoxy that one. Get it all back together, get the distributor back on, wires. I think once that ignition rotor shows up, I am just a couple of hours away from actually trying to fire this up and blow it apart. Okay, thanks for coming along. Please like, subscribe, follow me here and on Facebook, and I will see you on the next adventure. Bye now. Yeah, I don't know if I want to replace, or if I want to try to fix this or not. I guess I'm going to have to go in and see if I can find one. Last one I saw, $50 bill, and that's a used one. Oh well, let's go take a look. Good afternoon, this is John with Adventures in Wrenching, and we are going to continue on project 944. On the last video, I did a little update and told you that we were going to be hopefully moving forward and starting to put together not only this video, but we're starting to get close to where we can really get it put back together. I got to go back to the parts store, well, not the parts store, the hardware store, and get some more of these for my timing covers so that they all match. Took a piece of emery paper, and I got this all scuffed up nice and good for my nice new pretty ignition rotor, and it has a set screw in it, which is why I had to do this in the first place, because even though the old rotor was probably still good, in 2.5 years I had managed to lose this set screw. So since this kit came with it anyway, I decided to go ahead and get that. Now I'm going to go ahead and get an Allen wrench for it. We'll tighten that up, and we're going to start taking some video and putting this all back together again. So hoping soon, maybe even this weekend, and that's today's Thursday, while we're on social lockdown, I might be able to get the Porsche running. I think I got enough parts for it, so let's enjoy, see what we got. You know, I have a whole drawer full of Allen wrenches, but these tools are great. One of those things that I like to carry with me in my bag that I take to go rescue all these vehicles out in the middle of nowhere. Because one of these for metric and one of these for SAE, and you pretty much got yourself covered. And if it takes a different or a bigger Allen wrench, then this, well, you know, you probably didn't need it anyway. So, works out good. I'll be able to tighten this right up and move on to the next part. Okay, I'm out of the hardware store. I have got a bag with bolts in it. And when I started my car, check engine light. Great news. I have no idea what that's going to be. Doesn't seem to be running bad. But it does have 150,000 miles. So, well, could be anything. I'll throw a scanner on it, and we'll gives me an opportunity for another video after that. Never-ending saga. It's a little tight, but I'm going to try to show you guys this, just to show you. Down here is an inspection plate, or inspection hole, and down inside there, and I got my light there, you should be able to see a line, and then a notch, and it says TD, and that is lined exactly on it. So this engine is at top dead center right now. So if everything goes right, I should actually have this set in place to where when I get all the goodies put back on it, it should start. Pretty crappy looking, really dirty, and this gasket is toast. I'm hoping there's one in the upper gasket set that I got. That would be nice. So I'm going to spray a little purple power on there. It's not purple anymore, but it'll work, and we'll clean this off some. Guys, for those of you that are still married, don't do this at home. But since my wife passed away, I don't have anybody to yell at me, so I can do this. So I'm going to go ahead and use the kitchen sink and scrub this off, and hopefully my better half that does hang out with me and is my mechanical partner in crime, hopefully she doesn't see this. If she does, sorry, Dave. Well, it's getting dark, so we are going to see you tomorrow afternoon. It is the next day, another day in my backyard social distancing with Project 944. And after yet another trip to the hardware store to get another bag of bolts, because the last bag of bolts that I got was too short, we should be able to start putting the timing covers on. And hopefully, maybe this weekend actually get done with this, or at least try to get it started. I am going to have to get some gas, because to be quite honest, it's 2.5 years old and smells awful. But it was still liquid and not varnished. Ooh, sorry about the sun there. It was still liquid and not varnished when I pulled off the injectors a couple of weeks ago, and it was sprayed gas, so that's a good sign. But I'm going to mix some fresh gas with some old gas and probably create more old gas. But that's just stupid. That's what that is. I'm looking at this, and I'm probably going to regret saying this, but I don't really think I have all that much left to do. And if I were a good mechanic, that would probably be true. But I got the distributor and the distributor wires. Covers. I got to hack this off. This was a auxiliary hood lock that was on the car when I got it. Unfortunately, on the inside, there is this cylinder key down here, and of course the previous owner didn't have the key. Now fortunately it was in the unlock position, but there's no real point in having it, because this is the hood lever. So if you would just lock your darn door, then it wouldn't be a problem. But this was an expensive car when it was new, and I imagine that he got talked into it by a dealer, just like alarm systems and everything else. So that's got to go away. Oh, what else? This is my all that's left of my parts. Got my air box. Those are the struts that basically keep the AC in place. My belts, which I will probably go down and see if I can get a couple of new belts when I put this on, although those don't look too bad. I might have actually replaced those when I found out this had 0 compression on cylinder number 2. Got my mass airflow sensor, other part of the box, radiator hose, other part of the timing cover, various fiddly bits, and that's it. So let's try to put this mess together. Clamshell cover on. You can see that I am missing a bolt right there, because just bolts seem to be so darn hard to find. And I did get my shorter bolts, as you can see in my bag, but my other bag is still too short, so I will have to go one more time for sure. Now, I think there's also supposed to be a dust cover plate, but I don't see it. I don't even remember that there was one on there. I know the later 944s had it, and I think there's supposed to be one on this one too, but I could be wrong. But I've double checked all of this. This meets the, turn it 90 degrees. That's how you do, that's the old school version for doing the tension, and that's how I'm going to do it. The idler roller here is tight. I mean, it still spins, but this part's tight. You can still, if I had a grip, you can still hand turn the water pump barely. That's a good sign. I already checked the marks there. The mark is still lined up here. You saw a little bit ago that the timing mark on the flywheel is where it's supposed to be. So I think if I had some wood to knock on, I probably would. I think I'm ready to put the covers on this and then route the wires. This is all clamped down, so my fuel rail is down. That means that my injectors are down. That should be all tight. I got all the vacuum lines. I'm just worried that some of these elbows are going to have to actually be replaced with elbows. I may have to just rebuild this stuff from scratch. But yeah, let's do this. I will be so happy when I get the Adventures in Wrenching shop finally up and going in the next I want to say few months. I'm hoping by the end of the year that at least the floor space will be workable on the old Stanfield garage, which is now going to be Adventures in Wrenching Hot Rods and Customs. It just means I'll be laying on the ground in the shade, in the concrete, at least until I get the lift in. But for now, yeah, ground level. It smells like dog poop down here. Where's my dog? We gotta talk. It sure would be nice if this would actually fit like it's supposed to. That would be great. Oh, I guess if I was smart, I'd go jack this actually up so where I had some room under here, but then I would have to jack it down and so I could work from the top. Guess it's my choice. Well, lower clamshell is on. Those bolts are way too pretty for this. But, when you're laying on your side on the concrete and you're like 6 inches away from stuff on your car, and you get your glasses on this sort of stuff, you kind of notice things. And I'm looking at my condenser here for my AC, and I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be flat and not supposed to have rocks in it. And there's some pretty good sized dents and chunks, and that don't look so good over in the corner. So the AC did work on this kinda a couple years ago. I'm not looking forward to replacing this stuff. Yeah, that's gonna be a few videos. Okay, just an observation. That, and it's cracked. Lower spoiler here has hit a few too many curbs and other things at speed. Some living, some not. All right, back to the problem at hand. Darn the luck. Well, I got them in spot, but I'm gonna have to make another trip to the hardware store because, and I thought this was gonna happen to me, they had 9 of these bolts, and I didn't count when I left, but I kind of figured it actually took 10. I hoped wrong. When I got them, but 9 was all they had, so I grabbed them. It needs 11. So I need 2 more, plus this long bolt up here. So I'm going to go to a different branch of the same hardware store and go grab 2 or 3 more bolts. I've probably got $100 in new bolts and hardware on this car, just the little crap. All right, off to the store. Back from the second trip to the second hardware store to get more bolts, as we talked about. So I have a whole bunch, but most of these were the leftovers. These are the 2 that I had to get for the rest of the cover. And like Pavlov's dog, enough bad things happen to you, you have a tendency to learn something. So rather than just guess, because I don't have one, I got 3 different lengths of bolts, and one of those things is going to fit in that clamshell. Waste of money, you say? Not really, because the other 2 I will put in my bolt bin and probably forget that I have them when I need them. But it is what it is. Let's get the rest of these in. Well, I jacked it up finally so I can get up here and actually get my glasses on this up here, because there's just no room. Can't see anything up here hardly. And I got fat mitts, so I think there's one right here, and it still smells like dog poop down here. Man, I'm gonna have to rake my yard. I got one there and I got one there, and I'm pretty sure that's it. I can't feel back there. No, there's nothing there. So one here, one there. All right. Well, the good news for a mechanic is that this pan and the seal and everything else is amazingly dry. That's great news. That and the steering shaft, since I'm under here, that is all great news. It means it's not near as bad as one would think on a Porsche that's got like 200,000 miles at this point. Who knows? These things are notorious for having their speedometers break. This one was no exception. So I got no clue. I know by the maintenance records that the doctor that owned it that first bought this car had driven it like 52,000 miles in the first year. So she's a driver. Now, there is some oil back here on the pan itself, but there's no, it's been sitting and there's no dripping. That's good. Now it's probably going to just explode and leak like a sieve. Anyway, right there, those are the 2 bolts. They're in. I'm going to tighten them up and see about getting that top one in. And then we'll start putting the rest of the fiddly bits in. Okay, that part's done. Now, you might notice that this is broken here. And to be honest, I know that there are some vent tubes that come off this, but this has a lip on it. I think there's a hose that's actually supposed to go on that, but I don't honestly remember, and I don't remember it might actually go up to the air box. I think it does. But why did I not replace that, you say? Well, because they don't make them anymore. It is long out of production. Anybody that works on these old Porsches, these 944s, know that there are some parts that you just have to get creative. So in the short term, and I'll show you later, I am probably going to get some of the metallized tape and put a loop around it. The proper way to probably take care of this is I'm going to sleeve it with a piece of copper pipe and then get some epoxy and actually create a section to go over it, and probably keep the copper pipe, cut it off so that it's all nice and sturdy again. But this is a clamshell and you can't really seal the pipe to both sides, or you can't get that back off again. I'll come up with something, but we'll get it all sealed off. But I'm pretty sure that this hose goes to the bottom of the air box. Anyway, I think the distributor cap is going to be next. And as you can see, this is junk. And there is not a replacement in the gaskets that I got, but it's going to work for now, and I'll get one on order. Unfortunately, these things are kind of pricey. Like they're averaging about 20 bucks to replace that little piece of gasket. Such is the price you pay for that P word. P being Porsche. Well, here's the distributor cap that I'm cleaning up a little bit, and some of you may ask, well, why don't you just replace it with a new one? And you know, if this was a Chevy, I'd probably consider that. However, these Bosch distributor caps are $80 that when you can find one. Now they do have a couple of aftermarket ones, but I don't know that they're as good. But this one, besides being thick as a brick, is actually in pretty decent shape. And the tab still goes up and down like it's supposed to. So I think we're going to just stay with the one we got for the moment until we find out if the old girl's going to run again or not. The good news is they make these one directional. It only goes on one way. You got a notch right here, and when you look inside the distributor, right here where this hook is there's a notch right there. Now, I mentioned Chevy distributors a little while ago, and like the Chevy distributors, these are spring-loaded hooks, similar to the ones that are on the General Motors HEI distributors of like the 70s, 80s, whatever. And also, like those distributors, there's one that they make it really difficult to get to, and that's going to be the bottom one. Now, it also helps, they put a little stripe on here. This line right here, that's #1 cylinder, so you know how to line it up. Because when you stick this on, that is going to match right where that is, and since this motor's at top dead center, this one is the #1 cylinder. This is going to be fun. Oh, you can't even get it in the bottom hole. Now I'm going to use a shorty screwdriver, and you still can't get to it. Because you got no leverage because of the headlight motor bar. Come on now. All right. Done filming for the moment. I need both hands. Okay, it's on. These are in, locked in place. I just hope it stays that way once it starts rotating and it doesn't like snap something. Now to start working on the plug wires. A moment of unusual clarity before I decide to go upstairs and do a little research on this. I decided after a couple of years it's probably a smart idea to like charge the battery up. But on my old trickle charger here, it's only kind of showing 1 amp. Like it doesn't really need a lot. That's weird. So let's see what my digital meter says. Jam that in there. Yeah. And I've had it disconnected. Huh, I'm amazed. It's still holding 11.7 volts even after, oh wow, it's probably been more than a year since I even hooked up the post to this. Wow, that's amazing. I haven't got an amp, I haven't got a draw on it, but just by pure voltage. So I'm going to trickle charge this for a while while I do that, get this thing up to power, and then hopefully later in the day we'll be at a position to where I get to see if I try to blow it up or if it'll run. I am going to have to go down and get some gas, like I said, because the gas that's in it, even though the fuel rail was still holding pressure, even up to a couple of months ago when I pulled it off to replace the injectors, yeah, that gas ain't so good. Alright, we're just going to set this up shortest to longest here. I have the right direction. The direction is clockwise. on the 944, which means that it goes, and you can see right there, there's your firing order, so they make it simple. So it's 1, 3, 4, 2. And that's what we're gonna have. That's what we're gonna set up. Okay, I'll set up 1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, 4, 2. Yep, all good. Now I need to rehook up some of the vacuum lines that I had to disconnect for that, and then we'll see what's next. This one's too long, so I'm gonna clip that off, route it a little better. I did put this up and over the fuel rail now. Maybe it should go under it. I don't know. I guess maybe I should look at some other 944 pictures, or even some of my original ones that I took when I first pulled this apart, and see where it actually went. Not quite so important, but I do want to keep it away from heat, and I don't want it to run into anything, even though the cruise control, this is a factory cruise control car, but they were problematic at best even in the 1980s, let alone all these years later. That's going to be a ball to fix if I want to make it right. So yeah, let's go do a little vacuum line routing now, because I'm getting close. I got, at least in theory, I got fire. So now let's see about getting some of these hoses and the air box and the mass airflow sensor and yada yada to put on this thing. Got these factory wire looms on here, and it helps it look pretty. If nothing else, kind of keeps it in order. That part's nice. I think this is the type of stuff that I was dreading the most, is because I've got like this hose down in Neverland here that I had to pull off, and now I'm actually having to use a ratchet on it because I can't get anything, and I'm just hoping that it tightens enough to seal it all up and not come off the hose, because that would really be embarrassing. But it doesn't even feel like it's tightening that much. I guess I'll find out when I put water in it and watch everything like spray everywhere. You know, this lock thing has been in my way and bugging the bejesus out of me for as long as I can remember on this car. So I'm gonna do what any good mechanic would do. Grind it off. In all seriousness, guys and gals, lest you think I'm a total idiot, I do recommend wearing some good high impact safety goggles or glasses, which these are, because you only get one set of eyes, and mine have actually lasted me a good long time so far. So don't be silly. Throw some on before you do, any like grinding, welding, anything like that. So you keep the ones you got, because you only get one set. How do I do this without cutting myself? Done and done. Now I should be able to work that from the other side and get that out of my way. Not only is it 5/16, there's a bolt or nut up on the bottom side of this holding it. Criminy. Why do they have to make this so... And it's long. Well, that's one. Can I even reach the other one? Yeah, I can. Barely. Oh, man. Come on. I mean, yeah, I understand the desire to keep your car, but really? It already had a factory alarm on it from new, which is what the keyhole behind the door is for. It also had an internal lock. You didn't need this. Come on, people. Yes! Success! Okay, done. Well, there's a bracket and a oh, are you kidding me? Of course, I know that did not go to the ground. Oh, I don't even know if you can see that down there. You've got to be kidding me. Hold on. Can you see that down there? Way down there. Now I have more, but I don't want this thing rattling around down there. Let me go see if I can find my magnet. Mess of tools here. Yep. There it is right there. That's going to save the day, I think. Absolutely not the kind of fishing I like to do. But it works. There we go. So let's try this again. Okay, take two. There is a ground strap. Hold it on this time. And a bracket here. And let's go ahead and get this started. And not drop it. There we go. And get this on there and tighten it up, and that'll be in place. News. Getting ready to work on the mass airflow sensor here, and I just realized that I have managed to trap this hose underneath the intake manifold. Oh, that's just swell. Alright. Big screwdriver. Let's see if I can get that thing out of there. Well, that was easy enough. I didn't even really have to fight with it. That part's good. Oh, geez, is it trapped further in there? Oh, let me get a flashlight and see what's going on. Because I gotta get it to reach that underneath there. And that's not exactly lining up. Huh. Alright. This would fight me like a swordfish. Because I put new hoses on it. And just trying to get it to where it will seal up. Yeah, right. I mean, I should feel fortunate because the boot is actually still in good shape on this thing. Let me tighten up the ones that I know are right, and then I'll break out my diagram here and figure out. Oh, I had it, then I didn't. Darn it! Come on, work with me here a little bit, car. It's like it doesn't want to run anymore. That's that one. Really? All right, one at a time. Oh, this thing just does not want to cooperate. I'm gonna fight this for a while off camera. You have to have a passion for wanting to do this because they will fight you every step of the way, these old cars. This is one of those things you absolutely have to get right, because if there's an air leak in this, it throws everything off and you will regret it because you will be chasing problems forever. So I've got it on there nice and tight. I had to use some Slick Juice WD-40 on it to get it to slide over like it's supposed to, but that is nice and tight. And I had to take my box off to do it, but that's actually pretty clean. Well, no, it's not. Okay, well, we're going to take a little simple green on a rag and wipe that out before I put that back in the box. But I still have to figure out this hole right there and that hole right there, and those two ain't that close. So I may have to extend this out a little bit if that's where that goes, because it looks like there's a kink, so it should reach. But that is the problem with working on these older vehicles. So let's more research. I think I need a cold drink. Actually, I think I need to eat lunch. Well, I've looked at this and I got two choices. When I put the intake manifold on, I might have clocked this hose wrong right here, and my options now are to completely disassemble and remove the intake manifold, to move that, or create a little extension. I am leaning towards the extension because I can just basically graft in a little extension with a coupler, push it out this far, and that should do it, because I have to get it from here to here. Great. I love working on old cars. I keep reminding myself, I love working on old cars. Fortunately, I think I got everything I need right here. There's my coupler, there's a little piece of hose. Hopefully I have a couple of clamps floating around someplace. I think I do. And then we'll pull it apart after I grab a bite and continue the mission. I've been fed and I've been liquefied now, so water only at this point, because it's starting to warm up. Even in Arizona, even in first week, April. Okay, so heading on to the next round. These are new belts, like I said, so I'm going to go ahead and get those on while I'm at this, before I tackle and fight with that thing for a while. That ought to be fun. Porsches can't be normal. That would be way too simple. I have no idea where that goes to. But, I mean, I got the belt on, and yes, it's by loosening the compressor. So I'm, pulling that back tight. But remember those bars that I showed you earlier back in the trunk? Well, those go across here, and you actually tighten it this way, down here, not by anything up here. And it's the same way with your power steering pump, which is what this little trigger right here is. It does not have much of a power steering. It is more like power assist for the rack and pinion, because it still feels kind of heavy. But at least it's there. It's something. It gives you good road feel. But we're going to go ahead and get the other belt. Like I said, these are new, so I didn't need to replace them. So I didn't. They're on. They're not tight yet, but they are on. Once I get a little further on this part, I get to hook all this up. Now, this is actually missing a lot of its clips. So rather than try to find clips, which aren't that easy to find actually anymore on these, I'm going to use some paper clips and actually make them. Old school way of doing it. Alright, let's get that back in place. Or not. There we go. That'll work. Okay. Let's fight with this thing for a while. I remember a couple years ago this hose cracked, and I put a little elbow in it, and then it was too long. So now we're going to actually trim this up a little bit and make it right. We're going to trim this up a little bit and make it better. At least better than it was, so it fits a little better. Well, we're tight. Tight down here at the water neck, and tight over here. Now I have to figure out where this goes. Way over here. Now there is no radiator cap on these, so it's a semi-closed system. Everything goes through the coolant reservoir. And when I fill this up, I'm going to fill it up with water. And the reason I do that, you might ask why, is because look at all the residue and chalk on the inside of this section of hose that I cut off. That means there's a bunch of residue inside this, so I want to get it heated up to temperature, hopefully knock some of that loose, maybe put a little flush through it of some sort, and then flush it all out and put some real coolant in it before we get too far, assuming of course that it runs. So I'm going to go get some water, and well, actually I'm going to put that hose on first and then we'll get some water. Hopefully I have clamps for that. Anybody that thinks they've got room to work in this car is delusional. There is just, I mean, they put stuff in crappy locations, because where this coolant hose goes is up underneath the frame. So trying to get to the, to that screw there for the clamp is just impossible. You can see how tight my working spot is here. That's just like crazy. Oh, okay, I think I got it. An old coolant container here for just such an occasion. Now, I guess some of you would call this antifreeze, but since it doesn't really freeze in Phoenix, for us, it's coolant. So we're going to go ahead and pour this in. Just plain old water, as you can see, as I spill it everywhere. And we'll let that sit for a while. Shouldn't try to do this one-handed. Well, I got it on, but I don't have any clamps. So I'm going to have to go to the auto parts store, hoping they're still open, that they don't have special hours or curbside service or something that prevents me from walking in and grabbing these. But I just definitely do not have that size. I have 2 boxes of smaller ones, but not this size. Great. Okay. Be back in a bit, I hope. We have hose clamps. 4 of them. I probably won't need all of them, but I need at least 2 or 3. It's turning out to be a long day. Alright. So, I had to flip the elbow around and kind of adjust it out, and I pretty much think I've got everything set up as far as that goes. So that took a while. I used some electrical tape to at least seal this off. That's a temporary fix, but it's going to just have to do for right now. Topped off the water again. I'm about to throw on the mass airflow sensor, which I'm pretty sure went like that. There's a box that goes with it, some bracketry, and we're gonna just keep on keeping on here. This was an interesting fix. Looking at the air box, and inside you could see what was left of a $100 Visa debit gift card, and the reason is there's a hole in the bottom of it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it for right now, because it works. It looks like it's been sealed in pretty darn good, but that would have just screwed everything up as usual. And of course, this part is not available in aftermarket. So a little redneck engineering there, but I like it. The lower box of the air, or the lower half of the air box is in. Now I can actually bolt up the mass airflow sensor, but I don't know if there's supposed to be a gasket there. I would have thought so. I mean, it just breathes to the straight air, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, but it's going to be easy enough to replace if I see it, but I could have swore that there was supposed to be some sort of a gasket there. I mean, somebody previously used a little RTV, and there too, so I'll be cleaning that up a little bit to try to seal this up completely, which would have been tough with that big flipping hole in the bottom there. So, all right, we'll see. Well, I'm nervous. I think I'm actually ready to try this, and I'll try it on bad gas. What's in there? If it has any gas, and I think it does, because like I said, the fuel rails were still pressurized even just a couple of months ago. So I'm going to hook the battery up. I mean, I've got everything. I got everything hooked up. Lower air box, so the upper air box stuff really isn't important. All all my wires, all my vacuum lines. No, all my vacuum lines are not done. Dang it. All right, let me get that done and then we'll continue. Okay, let's see what happens when I turn on the key. I'm nervous. Really nervous. It's been 2.5 years. I didn't really hear the fuel pump. Well, we're going to try it. Let me set this up. Almost still sounds like a dead battery. Let's see if I got any fuel to the fuel rail. We're gonna have to get the right size wrench for that. And it just may be tight. I don't know. I mean, at least it turned over. I didn't hear any like really major clattering, but it's cranking really slow. So let me see what I can do here. So either it's out of gas, and that is a possibility, or it's clogged. Fuel pump's not working now after 2.5 years. Not getting enough voltage to it. Don't know yet. So we've got some fresh go juice to put in here, so we're going to go ahead and do that. See if that helps the gas tank register any a little better. Because it wasn't showing that it was quite on reserve yet, but and then I do have another battery. Ooh, wow, that smells like something other than gas. Varnish, definitely. Well, hopefully that mixes with the stuff that's down in there. We'll slosh it around a little bit. Put the gas cap back on it. See what it registers, and then I got to see if I can get 12 volts to it. I do have a couple of minutes. I do have another battery. It is much newer. It's not the right battery, but if I can get just fire for it. Well, that put it at 1/4 of a tank now. Thing is, it doesn't have a, that's a temperature gauge. That's miles per gallon, so that's probably vacuum. That works. But that definitely does not sound like it's getting enough amps to crank this thing. All right, let's go swap out the battery real quick. Well, I got this one out, and it's been charging on the charger all day, and it's still only showing 11 volts. The spare battery that I got, I don't know if you can read that upside down, but that is 12.41. So we're going to try this one, because maybe just the amps are down on this. I mean, it was a new battery 2.5 years ago. It's got a 2017 sticker on it, so it's almost 3 years old. But unfortunately, a premium is not the 3-year warranty. It's only the 2-year warranty. So I have a feeling that I am SOL on this battery for getting a replacement other than a core. That kind of sucks, because that's going to be another $100 bill. well, maybe not. If I go to my commercial account at a different parts store, I actually get pretty decent pricing. Alright, let's see what happens now. And then we definitely have to call it a night and sort it all out in the morning. Keys. Oh. Move closer. Closer. Well, that cranks better. But it ain't getting fire yet. What is the deal? Okay, that's still hooked up. That's still hooked up. Because 2 years ago, when I replaced everything, it did run. Only ran on 3 cylinders, but it did run. And there's still no fuel to the fuel rail. I just might not be getting any fuel. And definitely nothing came out. Well, that is not a good sign. I'm hoping it's not all jammed up or anything like that, because that would really suck. Well, this is definitely going to take some figuring out here, because you got one coming. This one probably goes back. This one goes 2. 1. It splits. It goes in. So these are what run it. All right. More research, but it's just acting like it's not getting fuel. I could run some ether up in there, some starting fluid at some point, but I should be getting some fuel into the fuel rails.